Tragedy strikes last night in DC. RFK gets attacked in his confirmation hearing. People want more free healthcare, and AI might be the solution. Sam Altman is either salty or actually like salt poured in his wounds as he promises to outcompete DeepSeek. Plus, Tesla robo-taxis are incoming. Doge is axing people but offering big payouts. Mark Andreessen rants about Dems and Republicans face swapping, plus some really fun stuff at the end. People are going to want to collect all of the segments today, Drew, but we got to kick off with something that really is not fun.
Yeah, tragedy struck last night in DC. Black Hawk plane hit an American Airlines flight. 67 confirmed dead, no survivors. It was a terrible accident. I don't know if you've seen the video or not.
I have. You can't see it very well up close, but moments like this, I really do wish that I could be the prayers side of it. I actually feel uneasily helpless in moments like this where I can't at least feel like I'm doing something by praying for people or whatever, but truly my thoughts go out to everybody. It is absolutely gut-wrenching.
You'll be thoughts, I'll be prayers. No survivors. There was some confirmed that some people were in the river, but that ended up getting debunked. Regardless, there's a bunch of DEI, Trump fired people. I understand we want to get political, guys, but people died. So let's just have a moment. Let's just be respectful of their families. When more information breaks, we'll figure that out. But definitely our hearts go out to DC. In other news, friend of the show, RFK, was pressed at the Senate finance hearing. He is part 2 happening right now. So he's still going. It's not like he's out the woods, but there was some spicy exchanges, including a tweet of yours. How did you feel about the hearings and the replies that lit this tweet up?
I think healthcare is a debate that really highlights the core emotional feelings that people have on both sides of the issue. And what I'm trying to get at, so my tweet was universal healthcare will simply lower the cost of dying if people are still eating food that's killing them. So this is on the back of people. There are a lot of people that really do not like RFK. And I certainly did not make a secret of it. When he was still running, he was my vote for president. I would have, the MAHA movement and the idea of making America healthy again still has me incredibly excited. It's something that I really want to see happen. And this is where thinking from first principles, I think, is so incredibly important. I understand the emotional pull for wanting to have universal healthcare. The problem is really twofold. One, you've got the issue of it isn't going to solve the problem. It's simply going to manage the cost of people that are effectively poisoning themselves. And I think people need to take the responsibility for what they eat, but people are effectively poisoning themselves. And we're building a system to be sick care, to take care of them as they're slowly dying at the end of their lives. I think that is the worst conceivable way to approach the problem. I get it. It really is coming from a place of compassion, but we need to get to root cause analysis. And life gets a lot more interesting when you can actually identify the root causes of the problems in your life and the lives of the people that you love and care about, and understanding that food, from everything that I can see coming out of the scientific community, food is going to be the punchline. Food and environmental toxins of other kinds for sure. But let's just start with the food. You are quite literally made of the things that you eat. This is why it drives me crazy when people say that a calorie is just a calorie. As far as I can tell, it's because they're talking only about the accumulation of fat. But that is not the only problem. There are way more complex issues when you take into account human biology than just whether or not you're storing fat on your body. So having somebody like RFK really pushing into the fray and saying we need to look at root cause analysis. He's somebody that's actually in physically good shape. So for the first time in a long time, we have somebody that we can say, whoa, I want to look like that when I'm in my mid to late 60s, championing this stuff. And so I want debate. I want people to press him on, okay, what are your thoughts on the vaccines and things like that? But nobody will take him at his word. Like, he's telling people as vociferously as he can, this is what I think about vaccines. My read on this situation is he's trying to be very clear. Listen, I'm not trying to take vaccines away from anybody, but this stuff needs to be tested. And yes, it needs to be tested. Like, we actually have to look at what are the long-term effects of the things that we eat, what are the long-term effects of the things that we put in our body. And given that he has been, I have watched dozens of hours of footage of him, and he is just consistently I'm not saying not to have these things. I'm saying they need to be studied. I'm saying we need to look at these, and you can't force feed people this stuff without going through the proper procedures of testing this stuff for safety. So I'm a little disheartened that it seems like he's on a razor's edge, that they were talking about with Tulsi doing this stuff in secret. At least this one is out in the public, but I just don't, I cannot respect people that don't want to have all of this happen out in public, that people don't want to see efficacy trials, that people don't want to see this debated, that they want some people to just shut up and force this stuff forward. That drives me nuts.
100% agree. I agree your sentiment. Like, I love RFK. That's my guy still. When I met him, he was genuine. The interview was great. I did research as we set him up as well. And his issues aligned with my issues. He's not trying to take anything away from people. He just wants to get to the science. And I think that that's something that we don't talk about enough, how we went from 6 vaccines in the 80s to now 50 in 2020, and yet we're twice as sick, twice as costly. It just doesn't add up. Specifically though, so people hate him because he's anti-vaccine and he's skeptical of that community. But I really want to dive into the Bernie Sanders exchange that he had, where he asked him, is healthcare a human right? And RFK said, I can't give you a yes or no. He gave an example specifically that if somebody is smoking all their life, they have lung cancer, they are now taking from the pool of resources that other people who are healthy might not have access to as well.
Yeah. All right. So, let's grab the third rail.
Yeah. So to your point, you replied that universal healthcare will simply lower the cost of dying if people are still eating food that's killing them. And I understand what you said earlier about the food, but let's talk about this healthcare as a human right. What do you feel about that? Do you think healthcare is a human right?
So somebody actually replied to my tweet with what I thought was a really wise way to look at this. So if you look at the Constitution says that you have the right to pursue happiness. Now, the reason that they would never be so foolish as to say you have the right to happiness is that implies that it's the government's responsibility to make sure that you're happy. And the government is never going to be able to do that. And so I've always read this idea of you have the right to pursue happiness as a way of saying government needs to have a light touch, because obviously your rights end where somebody else's begins. If it makes you happy to punch somebody in the face, you absolutely do not have the right to do that. But the government isn't going to step in and make it impossible for you to pursue a life that brings you joy, as long as you're not infringing on others. And so that idea to me is the same thing with healthcare, that you have the right to pursue having a healthy life. You have the right to let products abound of people that think that they can make your life better, including the right to healthcare. But the response to my tweet was that you don't have a right to somebody else's labor. So if you're trying to make healthcare free, you get into this weird incentive structure now, where you are asking somebody to dedicate their life to figuring out what is arguably one of the most complicated things that anybody could dedicate their life to, which is human biology, which is this insanely complex system. And you're saying, hey, I want you to dedicate yourself to that. I want you to be one of the best and the brightest. I want you to pour yourself into making sure that this all works. But oh, by the way, I want to make sure that it's free, which means that the government now has to pay for it. And you and I were talking before we started rolling, and I said, look, man, I get the compassion that people are coming forward with to say, hey, listen, this man's wife got cancer and now he's got hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and that's horrible. And she was young and nobody knows what caused it. It was just a bad roll of the dice. She didn't do anything to deserve this situation. And so we've got to take care of these people. And my thing is, you've really got to look at whether or not that works. And this comes back to, what is the aim of your system? For me, I want to live in a country that is high innovation. The reason I want to live in a country that is high innovation is I believe for the people that want a healthy life, this is going to be a getting back to basics with food and technological innovation. So I'll just plant the seed of AI being able to solve some of the complexities of human biology, being able to detect things in the environment of what's actually causing these problems, testing food, so on and so forth. Okay, so my hypothesis, my thesis is that innovation is going to be the thing that ultimately saves us. Now, if you want a high innovation society, you have to have a light touch government, because the second you ask the government to come in and just regulate the life out of everything, you get these really perverse, bizarre incentives. We can talk about my analogy of the fires in LA and how that was actually It's incompetent government exacerbated by poor regulations that end up creating that problem. So, okay, if the goal is to have a high innovation society, and I'm right about a high innovation society being a light touch government such that the free market incentivizes people to innovate, because ultimately what's happening in a free market is people can only get you to give them money if they give you something that you would rather have than the money. So to remind everybody, people get rich by creating something that the public really wants, unless the government steps in and distorts that system. A pause. This would be where I would normally play my tape around money printing. That is the thing that exacerbates the rich and the poor divide. It is not creating something of value that people want to pay for. Okay, so high innovation society is the result of a free economy where people can create things that the public wants that they're willing to pay for. Okay, now it becomes health insurance is going to get better if that's a product that people can offer. But if you step in and regulate that, like they did with the fires, what you end up saying is, we don't want you price gouging. We don't want you to be able to ignore pre-existing conditions and that kind of stuff. And so now the problem becomes the insurance company is no longer involved in creating a product that people would love. It's not a free market. And so you start getting these weird distortions where they're being asked to pay for something or asked to create a product that's actually terrible business. Okay, why is this terrible business? Because setting aside the woman who gets cancer, and it's really surprising and nobody knows why she got it, so much of ill health is due to lifestyle. It's the things that people eat. It's whether or not they exercise. You can look at some of the stuff that Peter Attia is talking about, one of the greatest minds on this in terms of living a modern healthy lifestyle. And he said the number one thing that is correlated to longevity is VO2 max. Now, the way that you get a VO2 max is by exercising in a specific way. So if an insurance company is told, hey, you have to take people on even with pre-existing conditions, now you run into a scenario where the person who's pushing their VO2 max, the person that's eating healthy, the person that's doing things that would stave off heart disease, cancer, dementia, all of those things that become just ridiculously catastrophic at the end of somebody's life, those people are now being asked to pay the same as somebody that is living a life that clearly we know these things stack up and they're going to cause just massive increases in the cost of healthcare. And I think the right analogy is if you go out to dinner with a bunch of friends and you get the cheapest thing on the menu, you don't have any alcohol because you're trying to keep your costs down, but a bunch of other people at the table end up having really expensive steaks, they have a ton of drinks, and then in the end, you just split the bill evenly. That is grotesquely unfair to the person that was really restrained in what they got and was trying to think about keeping their costs down. And everybody gets it. When you go out to dinner, it's like, that's shitty. And you get mad at your friends who are just like throwing it into the trees, or you say, listen, just give me my bill, give everybody else their bill. That's the free market. Just give everybody else their bill. And look, it is entirely possible that before the end of this podcast, I have an aneurysm and die, and my wife will be traumatized and horrified. And if it happened to somebody else in my family, and let's say that somebody in my family has lived an absolutely detrimental lifestyle for decades and decades and decades, should that be my problem to take care of that because it's my family, or should it be socialized across everybody in the country? All I'm saying is I totally understand the compassion angle, and we need to remember that it's all trade-offs. And so it becomes a question of what are the trade-offs that we want to make? I think if we right now just focus, don't change the system. I'm okay with that. Just focus on making the system less expensive. So my beef, and the reason that this is all tied to me, is here you have people that want free healthcare, and I'm going to talk about AI. I think AI actually is going to drive the cost of this way, way, way down. But you've got people that want free healthcare, and they are battering to death the guy that's like, hey, we're going to do root cause analysis. Hey, we want to fix the food supply. Hey, we want to make sure that people aren't taking drugs that are actually making their lives worse. We want to look at this stuff and figure out what is the root cause of health. What are the lifestyles that make people's lives better? What are the ones that make them worse? And because the government is involved in healthcare, you just get these ridiculous distortions.
Yeah, a good example is like electricity companies. And they're heavily regulated utility like monopolies. And that's why everybody hates their gas bill. Everybody hates their electric company. Like nobody says my water company is the best. It's because there's only one, you don't have a choice. So I definitely understand where the government can stifle innovation in certain industries and you're just stuck with a shitty product. My beef with healthcare, and I think that right now I am paying for socialized healthcare, but it's only for 65-year-olds, people on Medicare, and federal employees. I'm paying for Elizabeth Warren's healthcare, but if I want to have a baby, if I want to do something in my life, I'm stuck with the bill. So it's kind of going back to your friends at the dinner analogy. It's kind of like, yes, I have my chicken while everybody else is eating their steak and drinking their wine. They're asking me to split the bill evenly. And the person at the other table is also like, oh yeah, can you get a salad and put that on my bill too? And it's just like, wait, so I'm paying for this person and I'm paying for this person, but at least let me get a piece of the steak. Let me get a piece of the wine. Like, so I think that because we're already getting money taken out of our check for Medicaid, that's where a lot of people are thinking, okay, instead of taking $100, take $150, and then now I should be able to buy into the system. Or the $100 is getting taken out of my check, and the other $300 I'm paying for me and my daughter's healthcare. Let's bundle those two together, give it to one pool, and then now that's the pool that everybody like frequents from. Do you think the existing system can handle a transition like that, or do you think the government should step out, free market completely, and kind of let the chips fall where they may?
Drum shook. You just made me realize that a far superior analogy is it's not you splitting the bill evenly with your friends. It's you splitting the bill with everyone eating in a restaurant anywhere ever. And some people are in a way fancier restaurant than you, and you're still going to be paying for those things. It's very interesting. Now, look, we would be misleading people to say that analogy holds perfectly because it does begin to break down. But if you start looking at people in a country like the UK, I happen to be married to a Brit, so I see this up very close. My mother-in-law has had some tremendous encounters with the UK health system. And the reality is that anybody that can afford it in the UK has both private and public insurance. And so when it's something that's sort of low consequence, they'll go public. When it's something that's high consequence, they go private. So people are already saying, I can't trust the really important stuff to this system. And that goes back to you're asking the best and the brightest to flood into this system. And the reality is from access to cutting edge technologies like literal physical machines, you may not be able to get them, or there might be an insane wait period, which is exactly what happens in countries where all of this stuff is free. The wait periods are very, very long. It's a number system. They're trying to get you in and out as fast as they can. And then the free market steps in, tries to differentiate themselves by saying, we don't have wait times. We have better equipment. We have people that will work with you. They're not trying to rush out and get to the next person. And so you're already seeing a class divide in the kind of healthcare that you're able to get, which is going to trigger people again. And they're going to say, but this isn't fair. And this is where, again, getting to root cause analysis, why does it end up bifurcating like that? Because the reality is when you ask the government to do something that the private sector is good at and government is not, government is horrible at efficiency, government is horrible at innovation. And the reason that the government is terrible at inefficiency and innovation is efficiency and innovation are the result of evolutionary pressures. The free market is under constant evolutionary pressure. And we're going to talk about this more with Sam Altman and DeepSeek and how Sam is saying, hey, this is actually really invigorating. It's going to force him to think harder, to outcompete, to move faster in ways he wouldn't have to if everything is just given to him. And so the way that governmental structures work is they go literally by force, take your tax dollars, and then they're going to give them to these systems. The systems don't have to do anything to earn them. They don't even have to show results. They get that money automatically. So all of that evolutionary pressure, which would actually create a better healthcare system, is gone. And so the healthcare system is never going to get better. It's going to get slower. It's going to get less efficient. It's going to be less innovative because there's no mechanism to drive that efficiency and innovation. So the very thing that people want to be given for free can't be given for free. Now, there's a conversation to be had about, okay, but can we at least have some sort of bare minimum safety net? Cool, let's have that conversation. As long as we're not deranging the conversation by making believe that we can get this thing for free and that it will work the same way. It won't. Okay. Do you have more pushback there? Or should I talk about how AI may actually solve this problem?
I feel like you close that loop.
Okay.
I got you.
So here is the thing that was really, it's always been really jarring for me when people ask for things for free. And I want to scream into the void that we're all the problem. None of us will work for free. And because we won't work for free, we create the very thing that we're railing against. And we live in this time of plenty where people are tricking themselves into thinking that the government can just supply all this stuff for free. Going back to my initial point, the more things they supply for free, the more you have barnacles on the turtle being capitalist economy that drives innovation. You start dragging that down, which is why everybody, when they go to say, but look at these other countries, all those other countries are low innovation countries. And so there's a stagnation in those countries. Now the death happens slowly, so people are like, oh, what do I care? But man, if you care about your kids or your grandkids in a low innovation country, they're just gonna get their lunch eaten. You get the whole problem with America, where America brain drains the entire world, and we do it because we create these opportunities for individuals. So by doing that, we get the best and the brightest here. Other countries continue to stagnate. I don't know how this plays out over 100 years. All right, coming back to AI. AI is the person that will work for free. So if AI, because I know I talk about this a lot, but the cost of energy has to go down. So if we can have better policies that drive energy costs down, which Trump is working on, private companies are working on by spinning back up nuclear energy. But I think AI will innovate insanely in driving the cost of energy down. If we can drive the cost of energy down, and a robot only costs $20,000, which is Elon Musk's prognostication of like fairly near term, call it 5 to 7 years. 5 to 7 years from now, a highly intelligent, I would say within 7 years, at least as intelligent as a human, perhaps far more intelligent than a human, and physically embodied, meaning it can do the surgeries, it can stitch you up, it can meet you face to face. Remember, they're not going to look like robots at some point. In 7 years, they probably still will. But you start pushing this out 15, 20 years, which your daughter won't even be, I mean, it should be like 32 at that point. I don't know if you want me saying that out loud, but like, that's really soon. And so you'll have somebody, you'll be interfacing like this, and they will just seem like the most compassionate, the smartest person you've ever met, and they're there physically and they can help you with stuff. Now, if all of that comes to pass, and I don't think I have a lot of really grand assumptions in that, now all of a sudden, healthcare really can become free. But what was it the result of? Innovation. And this is why you want these high innovation societies. When you get the high innovation society, now you can start driving costs down. Again, I get it, because a lot of people are going to suffer right now today. There's going to be a lot of human stories that you can point to and say, this is really horrible. This family that deserved nothing but great and wonderful things is suffering for reasons we either don't understand, or they were in a low income neighborhood, and so they're by power lines and they have terrible food choices and all that stuff. Again, cue my tape about money printing and education, because I agree. Once people understand that this is a class problem, but that the only way that we solve said class problem is by lightening government regulations, not increasing them, lightening the amount that we regulate the free market, letting the free market do what it does to create that innovation, that's going to be the way that we actually get people what they want. It takes time, and that's why people just are not having it.
Robots to save us.
I mean, for real though, man. Dude, look, I'm really having a moment right now. And boys and girls, I already know that if you can hear my voice right now, you're already the kind of person that is hungry for information, you're curious, all of that. But please just tell everybody you know to spend as much time with AI as they can. It is a super learning device. And the fact that people can get access to this stuff for like $20 a month, I mean, a better $20 never spent, unless it is literally, I can't afford to eat, or it's the $20 goes to food or the $20 goes to AI. Put $20 towards AI. It is truly unbelievable how rapidly you can learn, and that you have a partner with you to help you do whatever it is that you're trying to do. Yeah, it's crazy. We need to talk about your online security. Your password, the one you use for your banking, your email, and your social media, might be up for sale on the dark web right now for less than $1. Cybersecurity is a huge concern for me, especially as a game developer. I'm all too aware of how many points of vulnerability we have. And here is why. One breach is all it takes for hackers to access everything you own. That's why I'm excited to partner with Roboform Password Manager. Roboform creates and manages strong, unique passwords for every site you use. One click and you're securely logged in. No memorizing, no compromises. Consider Roboform your complete digital security system. It autofills forms, securely shares access, and monitors your accounts for weak and breached passwords. The next cyber attack is coming. Protect yourself. Click the link in the show notes and get 60% off your first year with Roboform. Stop making it easy for hackers. Get Roboform now. Now, let's get back to the show.
Well, you brought him up earlier. Elon, he had his Tesla earnings call last night, and they announced two things. First, the launch of their Robo taxi business on June 2025, and they're going to pilot it in Austin, Texas. And they're starting production of their Optimus Pilot robots, so the humanoid robots that they debuted a couple months ago, to start production in 2025. Now, whether they'll hit households then, that's still, Elon kind of misses deadline, as you said. And then also, Sam Altman, the tweet that you brought up.
Well, before you go to that, did you see the robot that I sent you? I put it in the doc. I think it just sort of fell outside of what we're going to cover today. But briefly, I will say that there is a robot now that has been given a circulatory system. It has all 206 bones of the human body. It moves like a human because it uses water to articulate its musculature using tendon and ligament-like things. It is crazy how human-like this thing moves. And when you look at it without its skin, it really looks like you're looking at a human body. It is nuts. Now, this may not end up being the right form factor. We might find that specializing form factors is really the play, that when you go to the doctor's office, you don't want a humanoid robot stitching you up. You want like a stitch machine stitching you up. But in terms of mimicking the human capabilities, it's getting crazy. Like, it has the ability to be really gentle in its grip, whereas actuators and things like that, it seems like they've had a harder time controlling that stuff. But because they're using water, it's crazy, man. They use water in the way that the human body uses blood, and they use it like the way to contract the muscles. It's crazy.
That's crazy. So do you think, to the form factor question, because that's interesting, that this first wave of robots is going to be kind of novel? Like, they're going to be humanoid just to kind of have humanoid, but the second layer is then going to be stitch bots, constructo bots that are like dump trucks with arms that look like spiders or something like that. Like, we're going to start seeing those type of specialized creations.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I want to give people one of my favorite math equations. There is an IQ definition for a moron. It's something like 82 or 83. Einstein was 2.4 times smarter than a moron, like by literal IQ definitions. Okay, so from moron, where the government won't even take them to be cannon fodder to get shot at because they just create more problems than they solve, to the person who gave us the deepest insights into the fabric of the universe is 2.4x. I want you to imagine a world where there are billions of entities that are 10 times smarter, 1,000 times smarter, maybe 1,000,000 times smarter. Like, if just think about 2.4x gets you this insane difference. I only need you to believe in 10x. And it's already, you just can't even begin to fathom what it's going to do. But if I'm right, that scale in the training models plus efficiency in the inference on top of the models is how you create artificial super intelligence. I don't see any reason to believe that we're not going to see just a runaway train of intelligence. And so then all bets are off. Everything's free, not just healthcare, literally everything. But again, just to beat the drum, that is a gift of innovation. It is not a gift of regulation.
100%. And
taxation.
And we're definitely seeing that with Sam Altman's tweet, DeepSeek's R1 is an impressive model, particularly around what they're able to deliver for the price. We will obviously deliver much better models, and also it's legit invigorating to have a new competitor. We will pull up some releases. But mostly, we are excited to continue to execute on research roadmap and believe more compute is more important now than ever before to succeed at our mission. The world is going to want to use a lot of AI and really be quite amazed by the next gen models coming. This is my favorite part. Looking forward to bringing you all AGI and beyond. So AGI used to be the thing that we whispered about. Is it going to happen? It seems like Sam Altman was like, all right, I was taking my time, but if y'all want to talk about DeepSeek, let's step on the gas. Like, let's do it.
When I read that tweet, the image that came to mind was this really mild-mannered, nice guy reaching inside his coat, pulling out a fucking gigantic gun and cocking it like, oh, you want to play? Let's go. I've been holding these models back because I was afraid of freaking you guys out. Like, if you think DeepSeek's got some shit, DeepSeek is riding on the back of us, motherfucker, and I'm about to melt your face with what a real, like, set of compute and training model can do. And this is what I was saying when we did the DeepSeek episode is, hey, it is a big question as to whether or not companies continue to invest in the training models, because you can only draw so much inference from a model that already exists. If the model has a flawed vision of what the world really is, and then inference can only draw intelligent things from a flawed model, it will do great. I mean, think about Newtonian physics, right? It allowed us to do a lot of stuff, but it is incorrect. Einsteinian physics allowed us to do a lot more than Newtonian physics, but we know it's incorrect. So if we can keep training these models to get smarter and smarter so that the inference, the ability to be very efficient in the connections that you draw from that, the knowledge that you draw from that model of the world, if that 1-2 punch is on this sort of runaway flywheel, it gets really crazy. And what I love about that tweet is he's saying, no, we're going to keep investing in the underlying models. We are going to continue to train. Training is going to be more important. And look, I'm speaking like a sci-fi writer right now, not somebody who's deep in the science of this, but I just really, really have a feeling that he knows something along the lines of the following. You have to train these models on the underlying physics of the world. They have to understand chemistry. They have to understand particle physics. They have to understand quantum mechanics, like all of that stuff. And once they do, now the inference that you can draw from that becomes crazy, because like people will say human psychology is going to be the hardest part of this to map. It's just so complex. But it is knowable. Like, your brain is doing a thing based on the way that it's wired, the way that it transmits neurochemicals, the way that it deals with electrical impulses, the way that your sense organs interpret the world, all of that stuff, all of that's knowable. And so once it knows all of those things, it can say, given this exact moment in history, that ad will impact these people in this way. And obviously that's just me talking from the way that I perceive the world, but it'll be able to do, this drug is going to have this effect on this person. That's probably a far more universally interesting way to look at it. Everything will be N of 1. It will be able to, your toilet will have sensors on it. So my wife, who struggled with digestive issues, the toilet will read her microbiome every time she uses the bathroom. And then it's going to tell her, you need to be eating these ingredients at exactly this time based on the last blood sample and stool sample that we have from you. Do exactly this. And there will be all kinds of sensors, probably even sensors that we ingest that are living inside of our bodies, that are just like a CGM is giving a constant blood reading. These are just going to get better and better and better. We'll be kicking off all this data. People can squawk about privacy in the feed. But dude, it's really, really, really going to be this incredible, brave new world. So I have as much, if not more, anxiety around what AI is going to do to the world that we know right now. But I also know if we can get over what I'll call eternally pockets of violence, on the other side, I think that there's a really good chance we have a world that is just unbelievably cool.
Wow. It's interesting to kind of see all the hope and the possibility that's happening in the future. But we had an interesting blast from the past. So I want to set this up for you really cool. All right. So everybody knows that Doge is out here. They're trying to become more efficient. So Elon Musk, Trump announced that they're giving an 8-month severance to all the federal employees that don't want to return to office. There was some uproar on Twitter. People thought that it wasn't a good idea. And then Mark Andreessen, friend of the show, we love him, I love his tweets lately. I don't know if you guys.
He's so fun.
He's
man.
so good.
He is one of the best follows you can do.
Hands down.
Get on your boy.
He went down a crazy rabbit hole yesterday that had me captivated. So everybody's trying to cancel these guys for Doge and giving federal employees severances. When he brings up a 90s example, when President Clinton signed legislation today intended to help reduce the federal workforce by about 273,000 people over the next 5 years by offering buyouts of up to $25K to employees who leave government. And then he kind of tweeted this: reinventing government, reducing federal headcount, reducing federal spending, making the government more efficient and efficient for our citizens. Mainstream Clinton Gore Democrat progressivism in the 90s, but it's techno-fascism now. I think that was a very kind of juxtaposition. How do you feel about old-time Democrat policies that we used to love now somehow turned conservative?
This is why I want people to distrust themselves.
Yeah.
We all have architecture in the human mind that makes us want to tribe up, and it's a bad play. So in the 90s, Democrats were for the things that now Republicans are for, but they can't see past the fact that they think of themselves as a Democrat. And so anything Republicans do is bad, and vice versa. Republicans are going to look at the Democrats and all they want to do is dunk and say these guys are morons and all that shit. They're all just a bunch of woke nonsense.
Yeah.
It's like, for fuck's sake, you've got to take each thing one by one and say, is this going to get me the outcome that I want? Most people don't even take the time to define the outcomes. I get it. Life is complex. It's way easier to just be like, my tribe tells me to think like this, so I think like this. But whoa, this tweet storm just shows once again, that's not the way to approach it. The way to approach it is, why was it a good idea then versus now? Now, I looked into this. Thank you for flagging it for me, by the way. I looked into the actual document that Gore had published about how to make the government more efficient. And hey, it sounded a lot like the things that I've been talking about, which is you need KPIs. He didn't use the word KPI, but it was very obvious that's what he's talking about. And you need to see, based on metrics, whether the policies that we put in place are actually working or not. And the fact that people totally divorce themselves from, what are the results? Is this going in the direction that we want? Yes or no? If no, do something different. Based on your assessment of the underlying cause and effect that led you to this place, thinking from first principles. So yeah, it was really fascinating to see, this used to be a Democrat position and now is not, which, by the way, should get everybody to realize the following. Democrats fought, get ready, for slavery. Democrats. That's nuts. And it was the Republicans, led by your boy Lincoln, who was like, hold on a sec, this is fucking egregious and absolutely terrible. Now, how many times have they flip-flopped back and forth? I don't know. But why did they flip-flop? Because they look at the other party winning and they say, what's the, what in marketing you would call blue ocean? What's the thing that they are underserving that I could go do that people be like, yo, I'm for that. So the Democratic establishment wing becomes this ultra, I don't want to use inflammatory words. They very much embrace money in politics. They very much embrace their relationship to corporations. And so Republicans, great irony if you're my age, Republicans go, oh, then we're going to be for the working class. Well, that's exactly how it flips. And it will flip again. And as soon as people, the Democrats, see that blue ocean, that white space that's being left unattended by the Republicans, then they're going to swoop in and do their thing and offer it there. And at some point they'll flip or move into another relationship. But the tribes are all pointless. The tribes are all pointless. It all comes down to people want power. Read the Machiavellians. People want power. They will strive to get there. They will strive to keep it. And when they get there, they strive to expand. And once you understand that, it's like, oh, they'll lie. They'll twist things to remain in power. Everybody. This isn't a left or right thing. So the demarcation of there's left and right, which I've explained many times, call it compassion and responsibility as that split. But then you have establishment and populism. Shout out to our boy Cenk Uygur for making that one clear for me. And once you understand that sort of four-way breakdown, it starts to become a lot clearer. Are you for the entrenched elite? Or are you for the masses? And that's establishments, entrenched elite, populace is for the masses.
I think, not to go backwards, but I think that also triggers a RFK like nomination Senate confirmations, because a lot of the people that are pressing them so hard are talking for their donors, and I don't think they're talking for the American people. The guy that wants to ban Red 65, I don't think is the guy that you need to press. Like the person that's saying, let's not bankrupt the pharmaceutical companies. That's when you have to start kind of asking those questions. But that's me dying. That's me being on my hill.
If a company goes out of business, it means that people don't want their product. Look, as a guy trying to run a company, I wish people really cared whether I went out of business or not. But man, that isn't the play. That is not the play. The play is if I'm not winning in the marketplace, I'm like, I'm doing something wrong. I am not either I have a product that people want, but I don't know how to make people aware of it, or I don't have a product that people want and I need to address said product. Nobody should care about whether any individual company goes out of business or not.
That's unless the government is paying the company to operate then.
Well, now, okay, are we going to fractal into this? This is probably a separate thing.
I set you up.
Can I just shout out to everybody out there? Guys, did you know, this shocks me to my core. The Fed, in cahoots with your own government, started buying corporate bonds as a way to inject printed money into the system. That's like marching in the streets, bro. That's like, what the fuck are we doing? That is the government deciding what companies live and die. That's nuts. What is happening? Yeah, I am aghast that that's going on, but it's just complicated enough that, I mean, one, I still don't have a full picture of how all of this works. I'm well aware of that. Rule number one, don't trust thyself. That is a very much an autobiographical comment. But two, I know that the vast majority of humanity they just don't have the time or the inclination to build a mental model of all the ways that they are being manipulated, sandbagged. It is immoral. It's immoral. It's so crazy.
It's cutthroat out here.
We'll get back to the show in just a minute, but first, let's talk about optimizing your health. The key to upgrading your diet isn't just about what you don't eat. The quality of your protein matters a lot. I learned this firsthand when my wife Lisa was struggling with massive gut issues. We realized that high quality meat made a massive difference. That's why I've been a Butcher Box member for years. There are no antibiotics, no added hormones, just pure, clean protein that powers real change. They deliver straight to your door and shipping is always free. Here is an incredible offer. Choose either 2 pounds of wild-caught salmon, 2 pounds of grass-fed ground beef, or 3 pounds of organic chicken breast to get free in every box for an entire year. You're also going to get an extra $20 off your first box when you use code IMPACT. Go right now to butcherbox.com/impact and use code IMPACT to upgrade your protein today. Now, back to the show.
All right, let's get in lighter news. Let's make our people smile again.
Let's do it. Let's have some fun, everybody.
GTA 6 is being announced. Everybody's been waiting for this game for the last, 6-7 years, we said?
Yeah, I think when I last checked in on it, they'd been developing it for 6 years, and that was probably 6 or 8 months ago.
Yeah.
It's gotta be pushing 7.
There's rumors, though, that it will not be the usual price tag. Asmongold broke this down in a video that dropped a couple hours ago.
Well, they're trying to figure out a way to get people to pay more money for games because basically the price for video games hasn't really changed in the last 15 years, but inflation has. So the problem is that as video games have become more expensive to make, they can't increase the price of the games, which is one of the reasons why they add in microtransactions. And also, there have been elements of gaming, like, for example, distribution that's cheaper now. But you also have Steam, for example. So instead of spending 30% of your money on, packaging and sending it to GameStop, now you're spending 30% of your money on Steam.
Okay, so I am a simp for video games. Let's start with that. So I could not be more biased. I am really excited to see GTA 6. Now, admittedly, I don't play GTA, partly because it's literally, you just go commit crime to make money. And I get why, as a game, you need some sort of engine where you can just go do things. It's not an engine that speaks to me, but whatever. Put that aside. It's not going to be a play style that Impact Theory develops, but whatever. It's a video game. I one, have no beef with the games getting more expensive because you don't have to buy GTA. Like if you don't want to buy a game that's that big from a world building perspective, then go play something else. But it is my understanding that they've already spent $1 billion on the game.
Sheesh.
I've heard rumors that it's actually $2 billion. I don't know what's true, but it's a
Sheesh.
lot. It's a lot. And when I think about how much we've put into our indie game, dude, game development for now, AI will decimate that, but game development for now is ridiculously expensive. And so what they're saying is, listen, we're going to take a huge risk, put $1 billion or possibly $2 billion at risk to build this incredible game for you. And you don't have to buy it, but if you do, you're going to get access to what I have a hypothesis will be an unrivaled game in terms of its scope and just the things you're going to be able to do inside of it. And so no beef whatsoever. Now, I also have no beef with microtransactions. I don't like pay to win, and I will never play a game that's pay to win. It's just not interesting to me.
100%.
But I don't understand people who think that it's morally incorrect. That's why I cannot wrap my head around it. No one's forcing you to play that game. Like if you don't like games like that, go play other games. And this is where it's like, if people stop playing those games, then the game companies will respond to your incentives. So it is because people play them that you're going to keep getting more of that. Now, I'm Captain Microtransaction. I love it the most. Now you're letting me control how much money I spend in your game. So Project Kaizen has microtransactions. Right now, we're free to play. Will we be free to play forever? I don't know. We'll see. Partly just responding to culture gets what culture wants. So if they're like, I don't care that you're the only way that you make money is battle pass and skins, which are entirely optional and I don't have to do at all. I hate you for doing it. Well, then we'll stop doing it. But I can't wrap my head around why that bothers people. So I admittedly am in a position where this is not problematic for me, but I've spent a laughable amount of money on skins inside of Fortnite, but it brings me joy. I love it. And I can play without it. I don't have to. The game is free. So they're literally saying, you pay what you want. You don't have to pay any more than that. I cannot wrap my head around people's beef with that.
And that's my whole thing, is that I appreciate the development in GTA can get away with it, but this is going to be like a market altering move where when the first video game does it, all the other AAA video games are going to increase their price to 100.
Sure.
I'm the same way though. I have Fortnite. I bought one skin and I was coerced by my daughter on like Christmas Eve to get it. So I probably played 50, 60 hours of that game and I paid $14.99. So to me, I'm winning. That's perfect. I'm good.
Big time.
Yeah, like I'm out of it. So I'm very much played like you shouldn't have to pay, but I'm even looking like, let's take a step back from GTA. Let's take a step back from Fortnite. The market itself though seems like video games are getting cheaper because pay to play used to be the standard, and now there's all these free to play games.
Yep.
And the top 5 or 6 games, if you look at like the streaming channels and things like that, Minecraft I think is like $10 now. Fortnite is free. Destiny was expensive, that's free now. Call of Duty has a free option. So there are these other games that they're realizing like, okay, we could give you the $70, $100 polished package, but here's the free to play online version. And a lot of people are now migrating to that free online option. So is it just one of those things that there's going to be 2 games that you get for 100 and then everything else is going to be free? Or
so what will the pricing model be? The pricing model will be they'll charge as much as they can in the marketplace for sure without enraging their customers, because whether it's logical or not, if people feel some kind of way about them charging $100 and they rebel against the game and it folds, then they're in a terrible situation. Yeah. And so it's one of those, I can rail against the way that people feel as much as I want. It doesn't matter. People feel what they feel. They're going to act the way they're going to act. And I have to dance to that tune. And let's just be very clear about how markets work. The market has all the power. Yeah. So if they refuse to buy something for whatever reason they decide to do it, then people are going to change their behavior. Yeah. The thing that I think people are bothered by is people are so aware that marketing is ultimately manipulation. Marketing is getting someone to feel what you want them to feel when you want them to feel it. That's marketing. And once you understand that, it's like, oh, wait a second. I'm going, ooh, I understand your psychology. I know what you want. And I'm going to frame things in such a way that you're going to feel exactly what I want you to feel when I want you to feel it. People don't like that. And so they go, here's my beef with microtransactions, Tom. You are creating a sense of FOMO. And that's how you're getting people to buy it. And so then I'm like, so wait, are you saying that you don't think people can think for themselves? Like, I don't understand. And they will say, yes, people can think for themselves, and this is evil and scummy.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, but you understand they're going to do the same things to get you to spend the $60 or $70 or now $100 to play it. So marketing is how we feed the innovation economy. I definitely aggressively believe that innovation is the right play to make people's lives better, as close to universally as you're going to get. So anyway, this is people that I think halfway think through something, and then they have an emotional reaction. They trust their emotions, and they just go ham.
Are you getting GTA 6?
Oh, of course.
All right, can I borrow
Of
your copy when you're
course.
done then?
Sure.
$100 save. Let's go.
All
All right. And last but not least, on this segment, on this today's news of dating is trash, number 79. Everybody loved this segment so much, so I had to bring something else up. So this I just found was funny. DeepSeek, this DeepSeek prompt, somebody says when your date sends you the simplest message. So they put hey with 2 E's, and DeepSeek broke it down. Okay, the user wrote hey with 3 E's. That's a friendly greeting, maybe a bit informal. I should respond in a similar tone. Let's keep it casual and welcoming. Maybe add a smiley to match their vibe. They might be starting a conversation, so I can ask how I can assist them today. Keep it open-minded to encourage them to share what they need help with. Avoid being too formal. Use some emojis to keep the mood light. Make sure the response is warm and approachable. Hey there, smiley face. How can I assist you today? And for the first time, I feel like AI understands me. And this is why I got off of dating apps, because I felt like that first text, I didn't know how to respond. I was thinking too much. And so thank you, DeepSeek, for validating me and validating all those people that don't know how to respond when their person on the dating app makes a first move.
That's hilarious. My favorite response to this tweet was, oh, so DeepSeek overthinks even faster than I do. I was like, I like it. Yeah, because that is a very deep response.
In
to,
2 seconds.
Hey, but what I love is it technically has 2 E's, and DeepSeek is like, it has 3 E's. So
Completely missed that.
here is the fun of AI is, I think we already talked about this. This is so fascinating to me that we are ultimately going to send our AI representative to speak to their AI representative to find out if there's compatibility. That is going to derange things so hard, which is why get out in the real world. Of all the places where you want real world interaction, it's here in the world of dating, because ultimately this is part of what makes relationships so great, is ultimately about a fluid swap. And like, dude, sending AI, like not being able to think for yourself, that one feels like a bad play. Get out there, take the risk. Now use it as a coach. I love that. Behind the scenes, like, hey, I'm thinking about this, that, or the other. It will give you extraordinary advice for sure. And getting back into the realm of sanity, where we realize men and women are different. And so it's like, okay, wait a second. How would a woman see XYZ? Like if I could have asked it, hey, I showed up with custom written poetry and flowers on the first date, and she didn't seem into it. I don't understand, like, what's wrong? And it could have spared me a lot of pain and suffering, because, oh boy, was that a terrible way to go about it. And I did it several times. Dude, I once, just to clown on myself, I once wrote a poem anonymously where if she just read the first word of each line, it said who I was, or gave her a clue that would make it obvious who I was, and gave it to her. She did figure it out, by the way, and was mortified. And I never got that date, just by way of like how terrible a strategy this all is. So AI could have saved me a lot of pain and suffering. Drew is doing a search as we speak, literally asking, hey, I showed up on the first date. I so want to know what it says. I showed up on the first date with custom poetry and flowers. What do you think of this strategy? Let's see. You got to zoom in. This is an eye test. Okay, here we go. That's a bold and romantic move. It shows thoughtfulness, effort, and creativity, which can be really attractive. However, it also depends on the vibe of the person you're meeting. Some people might find it incredibly charming and appreciate the gesture. No, they won't. While others might feel overwhelmed if it's too much. Yes, that is correct. Also, they think you are soft. A good strategy is to read the room. If you've had great conversations before the date and there's already a sense of connection, which there wasn't, it can be a big plus. If it's completely blind date, not quite that bad, or there's not much rapport yet, start with something a bit more casual. Engaging their response first might be safer. How do they react?
Okay, that was a good. That was a
Terribly,
good reaction.
terribly. I want this chat. I would be like, bro, you are gaslighting me. We both know this is a terrible strategy. So this is where you have to train your AI, because it is going to give you a blend. Because this is where you realize that AI at its current state is simply telling you the most common answer out there online.
Yeah.
It's not dealing with the physics of the situation, but you could train it to like really zoom in on, hey, I want you to think about this from the perspective of the difference between men and women, what makes men successful, blah, blah, blah. And if you get good at prompting, you will be shocked to your core at how good chat will get at giving you high utility answers.
Yeah, I found prompt engineering is good and like giving it context. So I literally have like one prompt that's all like, how to fix my car stuff, and it's a bunch of like, so every time I go in there, it has all the previous context, like, oh yeah, you did this repair later, you should do this and watch out for this. So it kind of compounds on itself the more you talk to it. No doubt. That point. Yeah,
no doubt.
All right, that's all I got.
All right, everybody, if you haven't, be sure to subscribe. And by the way, if you're in this community, please, if you want to see us cover something, send it in. We are in the comments, Nonstop Violence. It'd be wonderful to see you there. And if you prefer to get your podcast on a podcast app, make sure that you check us out. We are everywhere that you find your podcasts. And if you're here on YouTube, we love you the most, and we will see you guys next time. Until then, be legendary. Take care. Peace. If you like this conversation, check out this episode to learn more. The Bulletin of Atomic Scientists moved the doomsday clock closer to midnight than ever before. DeepSeek tries to gaslight users. Trump force-fed deportees back to Colombia by threatening President Petro with a tariff stick. People say foreign gangs are trying to destabilize America.